series. The teams will wrap up tomorrow afternoon on Wednesday afternoon game. Ron Gardenhire's Twins are in town. The Blue Jays won the opener 5-4. Let's take a look at their lineup now. Top of the order is Danny Santana, the center fielder, and he's off to a good start to his young career. Brian Dozier had a home run last night in the first inning. He scored a run. That gives him 53 for the season. That's the most scored in the major leagues. Kurt Suzuki this season against the Blue Jays has gone 4 for 9 with a double and 2 RBIs. He had a big double in the 9th inning last night. They are set to take on Jay Happ, who's pitched well as a starter since coming out of the pen.
He has. He began the season on the disabled list with a bad back. Appeared in 3 games out of the bullpen, moved into the rotation, now gets ready for his 8th start of the season. Last start against Detroit, picked up win number 5. You see that they were the 5-2 record. Pitched into the 7th inning for the 3rd consecutive start. That hasn't happened for Jay since 2010.
7 innings against Oakland, 7 2/3 against Kansas City, and 6 1/3 last time out. He's pitched very well. He'll work with Deanna Navarro, who's behind the plate this evening. Danny Santana is a switch hitter. He'll bat right-handed against Jay Happ, and here's the first pitch of the ball game. Upstairs for a ball, and we are underway. Santana batting .364. He got some pop. He hit the first of 2 home runs in the first inning last night. Twins going back-to-back for the first time this season.
What a pleasant surprise he has been for the Minnesota Twins. Looking for a center fielder. Aaron Hicks has been battling a shoulder problem. Their regular center fielder.
Santana's a natural shortstop, and he's got good athleticism. He's made a nice transition into center field, and he's got a mini 5-game hit streak going.
He didn't look overmatched at all in the outfield yesterday. It looked like he'd been playing it his whole career.
You know, he's got kind of the same skill sets as Emilio Bonifacio, who was here last year. Same type of player. Really up-tempo, fast-paced game. Pretty good pitch. Just missed the inside corner. It's a full count. Santana hit the home run on a full count last night against Dickey. Dozier will be next. Leadoff walk. No defense for that leadoff walk, but let's take a look at the Blue Jays, how they set up behind Jay Happ, Cabrera, Gose, and Bautista in the outfield, and they've all thrown well this season. Juan Francisco's been a pleasant surprise defensively at third base. Reyes and Laurie turned some terrific double plays last night. Edwin Encarnacion back at first, and Deanna Navarro behind the plate.
And you know who else has been a pleasant surprise and played well? Brett Laurie at second base. His range really plays out there. What an arm.
This is his 22nd start at second base, and he looks like he's played there his whole life.
Blue Jays lead the American League in fielding percentage. Even though they've been mixing it up and moving Brett Laurie all around the diamond. Number 1, only made 32 errors.
There's a deep drive to left field. Melky Cabrera back at the warning track, at the wall. This ball is gone. Dozier almost passed Santana at first base. Santana went back to tag up. But Dozier, for a second night, has homered in the first inning.
Something that is up. And now Brian Dozier, he's got those 14 home runs. Every one of them, he has got the head out and he has pulled it to left field. This one was high and deep to left field. Looked like it might have stayed in the ballpark. Maybe something off speed that is up. And watch him at first base. Santana's thinking about tagging up, and Dozier surprised that he's standing right there. That would have been interesting.
Would have been an out. Joe Mauer takes the first pitch strike, the first baseman, batting in the third spot. So just like last night, the Twins take a 2-0 lead in the first. The offense hasn't been a major concern for Minnesota. It's been the pitching staff once again.
Their defense has been good. They're 5th in the American League. You're right, they can hit. That guy's going to be in the All-Star game, I think. Dozier, it's in Minnesota this year.
Yeah, he's a nice little player. He made the transition from shortstop to second base, and he can really swing the bat. Curveball. Laurie out there in shallow right field, throws out Mauer. It's the first out of the inning. Well, Jay Happ is always better when he can establish that fastball, and he has pitched very well as a starter because he's used his fastball.
Yeah, he'll use it 2 out of 3 times. He'll charge right ahead with that fastball, and it'll set up his slider and his changeup and his curveball that he'll use just 9% of the time. This year, I think that knee is healthy. He can land out on the front of that front knee and get over his body, and that'll help him drive it down into the strike zone. I don't think we could have said that last year after the injury that he had down in Tampa.
Jay Happ was hit in his head on a comeback off the bat of Desmond Jennings May 7th last season in St. Petersburg. There's a base hit through the hole at shortstop in the left for Josh Willingham. Third base runner to reach here in the first inning.
Well, they're ready to hit that fastball. They looked at the scouting report also. Ball is away, but it is up. And Willingham is able to go out and get it.
So there's one out. Kendrys Morales in his second game of the season. Moved up into the 5th spot tonight. Morales had a single in 3 official at-bats. There should be a double play. Laurie flips to Reyes, who bobbles the ball, but they still have time to get Morales. Another double play for the Jays. They turned 3 last night, 1 already tonight. Third inning. And he didn't stop at first. He stole second. He would eventually steal third. Stolen bases 13 and 14. Then he hit the home run in the 5th, his 4th of the season. And just for good measure, he had a single in the 9th.
And playing great defense as usual. The thing about Reyes is power and speed. He's got power if you make a mistake, speed if you get him on first base. He's an electric player. He really sets the table for the Blue Jays.
Let's take a look at the lineup. There is the table setter right at the top of the order. Jose Reyes against Kevin Correa. He is 10 for 28, double, triple, home run, and 5 RBIs. And then in the 3rd spot, both Jose's have hit well against Correa. 6 for 9 for Bautista. He's doubled, hit 2 homers, and driven in 5 as well. It's a tough lineup for anybody, and Kevin Correa has just 1 win in his career against the Blue Jays.
He certainly has faced the Blue Jays enough. This is the 7th time in the 5th start that he has had against the Blue Jays. 2nd year in Minnesota. He's struggled over his last 6 starts. He hasn't won since May the 20th. Just 1-4 in those last 6 starts, and the opponents have hit .343 against him with 6 home runs.
Well, the Blue Jays were down 2-0 after the top half of the 1st last night. That's where they sit right now. Minnesota has a 2-0 lead. Reyes takes the first pitch strike. Reyes' average is up to 268. It's been a slow, steady climb for the shortstop. Fouled off the umpire, Sean Barber. Reyes quickly behind 0-2. Well, the Twins, more than anybody I've noticed, have really played a neutral defense. They very rarely shift on any hitters.
You and I had a chance to talk to Paul Molitor when this series started. He said he'll pick his spots when to use it, when to use that shift. But you're right, they're pretty much old school.
Molitor is in charge of the infield defense, and you can see him really keeping a close eye on his infielders. But they're basically just straight away. Ball ran out over the plate. Reyes had a chance to whack it, and he hits it into the seats. Correa has given up an opponent's batting average of .321 this season. Those are his numbers against the Blue Jays. This is his 7th start against the Jays. That one win came in 2011 while he was pitching for the Pirates right here at Rogers Center. That's bounced back to Correa. He tosses to first, and Reyes is retired. Minnesota's always had pretty good defense, and that's the case now with Willingham back in left field. Danny Santana, shortstop playing center, has done a good job. Osvaldo Arcia has 4 assists in the outfield. Nunez, Escobar, Dozier, and Mauer from third base to first base, and the veteran Kurt Suzuki behind the plate, making his 45th start of the season.
And we talked about Brett Lawrie in the top inning. This guy's just like Lawrie. He's got a lot of range in the outfield. You talk about his good hitting. He's a very good defender, ex-shortstop with that powerful arm. He's a good player.
Dozier has played every inning this season for the Twins. He has found a home at second base. Melky Cabrera Blue Jays won the game last night in the bottom of the 9th, 5-4. They had 10 hits. Kevin Pillar with a game-winning bloop single into right field. Kevin Seitzer once again has put together a pretty good game plan for his hitters against Correa. Again, emphasizing stay in the middle of the field. Don't try to pull him.
Well, he sinks that fastball and he cuts the fastball. Throws a lot of those types of pitches right around the 88 to 90, 91 miles per hour, and then he'll pull the string with the curveball. Got to change up also, but you're right. You got to stay in the middle of the field.
Melky chased one upstairs. You can see his body kind of wilt as he thought, oh no, don't chase those high pitches, and that's been a problem.
That's been a problem for Melky. Just a little bit too anxious on those high fastballs. They look so inviting.
Full count. So far, it appears as though the Blue Jays are just a tad behind Correa. They haven't adjusted to his velocity just yet.
They've had a couple of pitches to hit. Reyes and now Melky. You can see him looking up in the stands. That last pitch was a hittable pitch.
There's a hittable pitch. This ball is over the right fielder's Arcia's head, and Melky Cabrera will stop it first with a line single off the wall and right.
High heater. Watch how he gets on top of that one and pulls it off the wall. If he could have got a little bit more height on that ball, would have been his 11th home run, but he hit it so hard. He's at first base. It's a good sign when you're pulling that type of pitch.
83 hits for Melky Cabrera. Bautista now with 1 out. Bautista shoots this one into right. Arcia has a strong arm. He has 4 outfield assists in just 16 games, and Bautista jumped on that first pitch from Correa.
And I think that was by design again, Buck, with the runner at first base being held on by Mauer. They played shift ball, so there's a huge hole on the right side. Look at it. Nobody standing on the right side of the infield, so Jose says, thank you very much. I'll take a base hit into right field.
Well, he can really hit. He has taken advantage of those exaggerated shifts and has taken his base hits to right and right center. One out. Deja vu all over again. Edwin Encarnacion hit a 3-run homer in the first to erase the Twins' 2-0 lead last night. It was his 20th. Got under this one. That's going to stay in the ballpark. Josh Willingham comes in. Encarnacion's retired, 2 down. Correa's not overpowering by any means, and he's going to mix it up pretty effectively.
And he's always been a guy who has given up a lot of base hits compared to his innings pitched. Cutter, fastball, about the same pitch. He'll use that. He'll sink it. He'll cut it. And he'll, again, it'll be about, tops out around 91 miles an hour. Drop a curveball in there and a changeup at times. The fastball velocity trending up a little bit for him. But I think you need to stay in the middle of the field. You'll pull the ball naturally if he throws one inside to you.
Adam Lind takes that one away for a ball.
You know what you don't want to do against Correa is try and pull the ball against him, especially a left-hander. That's when you start rolling over balls and hitting weak ground balls to the right side of the infield.
Ball on the strike. Dozier is out in right field. He is backed off the infield, and he's playing Lind deep at second base. Dozier comes in and will go to first to retire Lind, and the Blue Jays will leave a pair. Minnesota will bat in the second with a 2-0 lead.
Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays. And by Home Hardware, homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Beautiful night in Toronto, 20 degrees at the start of this game, and there's a nice breeze in the open-air stadium. Right fielder Osvaldo Arcia batting .257. Arcia was called back up to the big leagues on the 26th of May. He lines this one into center. Anthony Ghost got a good break and makes a nice catch. That ball was sinking quickly, and he was able to pick it just before it hit the turf.
Also, he was playing him to pull Arcia, and that ball's going to slice Off of a left-hander. Watch how that ball slices away from Ghost. He read it right off the bat. Got that glove down and looked it right into the glove. Been playing some fine center field.
Yeah, he can really read the ball off the bat very effectively. He's got great speed to run balls down.
Colby Rasmus is going to meet the Buffalo team in Toledo and start a rehab assignment. So Blue Jays going to have some decisions to make when he comes back.
Rasmus has been out since early May with a hamstring problem. He and Sergio Santos are liable to join the Blue Jays on this upcoming road trip. Kevin Pillar, Anthony Gose, a couple of youngsters that have helped out from AAA Buffalo in the absence of Colby Rasmus. They've both done a nice job.
Contributed to help the ball club steal a base, play good defense, come up with a big pinch hit. Whatever.
Anthony Gose is a threat to steal. He's just 3 for 5 in stolen bases, but batting in that number 9 spot, you don't want him taking a lot of risks. Kevin Pillar has filled in the outfield.
Well, we don't have to make those decisions. Who goes and who stays.
That's the good thing.
That's the real good thing. The good news is you get a major league player back soon in Colby Rasmus, who was swinging a hot bat when he got hurt.
Colby's got 9 home runs. Nunez got out in front of that inside pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes to the former Yankee. Stays on that breaking ball. Jay Happ, I mentioned how he has moved into the rotation and done a nice job. Been able to pitch deep into the ball games and given up some home runs, but that has not been a major issue. Navarro back just short of the screen and makes the nice running catch up against the backstop. 2 down. Well, the Blue Jays obviously have had a dramatic turnaround, especially in the pitching department. And if you look at the Blue Jays team ERA month by month, it's getting better as the summer gets nearer.
No shocker that they've been winning a lot more since March and April, beginning of this year. You pitch, you're going to win. And the Blue Jays have been pitching in all facets, too. The starters have been outstanding. The middle relief has been very good. And Casey Jansen has really settled down the bullpen.
We've been able to utilize 3 catchers, and they've all had an impact on those positive pitching numbers. Foley, the catcher for R.A. Dickey. Navarro has caught Mark Burley very well. He's had a terrific start to his season. A 2.04 earned run average. Kurt Suzuki, he's had a good year against the Blue Jays. He's gone 4 for 9 against the Jays this season.
The American League East brings out the best in Kurt Suzuki this year. Hitting just under 500. 3 hits last night against the Blue Jays.
Late on that Happ fastball. It's a ball and 2 strikes to the Twins catcher. Kurt Suzuki played his college baseball at Cal State Fullerton. He was a teammate of former Blue Jay Ricky Romero. He was a 2nd-round pick in 2004 by the Oakland A's and made it to the big leagues in 2007. He had a 15-homer season for Oakland in 2009. And he's really thought to be a catch-and-throw guy.
Yeah, and that's saying something. Hitting in that ballpark, Oakland. Ball doesn't carry. Now over 300 with those 3 hits last night.
This boy has a pretty good pitch down and away. Suzuki had 3 seasons of double-digit home runs for Oakland, which is saying a lot in that ballpark.
Yeah, the ball just doesn't carry there. You got to hit it down the lines, especially at nighttime if you want a home run.
Bouncing ball. Big hop for Laurie at second base, and Jay Happ retires the side in order. We'll go to the bottom of the 2nd. Jays trail by 2. Cottage in the City weekend begins Friday, June 27th. It goes till Sunday. Blue Jays will take on the Chicago White Sox for the weekend series. Bring the Cottage to the city of Toronto for the weekend. Enjoy the pregame festival outside Gate 10. There's live music, licensed area, sun and sand. 200-level outfield will be turned into a porch oasis. So make sure you call the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234 or log online at bluejays.com to order your tickets for Cottage in the Weekend. Cottage in the City weekend will take place the final weekend of June. Brett Lawrie will take one way upstairs. Lawrie with 11 home runs and 36 RBIs. There's a base hit into center field. Santana over to get it back in. Brett Lawrie has a leadoff single here in the second. The Blue Jays have 3 hits off Kevin Correa so far.
Brett's timing has been a lot better lately. He's getting the head out. His swing seems to be a little shorter. And those fastballs that he was popping up and hitting fly balls with now, he's driving them into the outfield for base hits.
Brett has really done a great job hitting with 2 strikes, and Kevin Seitzer's trying to encourage him to take that stroke to the plate with him for every pitch. Leadoff single, Deanna Navarro at the plate. Navarro's thinking, you know what, I've just been catching for 2 innings, and that's not been a strike yet.
Especially to that leadoff hitter.
Boy, you could read his face right there, huh? Let me see. You going to call that for me? That one looked better than the first one, but it's a ball and a strike all the same. Deanna batting .258. He's got 3 homers and 23 driven in. Brett Lawrie with a sizable lead at first.
Not really a threat to steal. But they will play hit and run with these 2. We've seen it a couple of times this year.
Navarro really puts the bat on the ball. He really strikes out, so you can start the runner. Of course, he doesn't have great foot speed, so he's always a threat to hit into a double play. Navarro, for the season, has struck out just 22 times. Wouldn't you know it? He swings right through it. Didn't come close to hitting that one. But he is a good contact hitter, and he can play hit and run. Might not be the situation here with a 2-2 count.
Yeah, not now. 2-2. They might, if it gets to 3-2, elect to start the runner to stay out of the double play.
Foul back. Minnesota has staked Kevin Correa to a 2-0 lead. Brian Dozier hit a 2-run home run in the top of the first. Dozier, his 14th home run. He now has driven in 33. There's another base hit into center. Lawrie will stop at second as that ball was played on a couple of hops by Santana.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
First and second, nobody out. Blue Jays have some thunder tonight in the 8th spot in the lineup. Juan Francisco with 10 homers, batting 8th. He has faced Correa in the past. He's 3 for 5 against the Twins righty.
I think this is a good matchup for Juan Francisco right here. We talked about the sinker and the cutter, the fastballs that Correa likes to use. If he's not getting his breaking ball over, Juan Francisco can sit on one of those fastballs, see how far he can hit it.
We got one there. Fouled it back out of play. You're right. Correa hasn't really established that curveball yet, and that's the pitch that gives Francisco problems.
Yeah, he says he's been chasing too many of those pitches. Early on, Juan was very disciplined at the plate and laying off those breaking balls. You can see over his last 16 games, he's really been struggling. But John Gibbons was saying before the game, he is who he is. He's in one of those streaks right now. He just has to be a little bit more disciplined at the plate.
He's got ridiculous power to all parts of the ballpark. But you're right. I think he got off to such a great start. He tried to get a little bit better and started chasing some borderline pitches.
Yeah, tried to hit everything, and pitchers started throwing him more curveballs and more pitches out of the strike zone.
Good take there. See, Correa just 89, 91 tops. He won't overpower with his fastball. Number 9 hitter Anthony Gose will be next.
Well, this is where Juan can just sit on a fastball right here. See how far you can hit it. He's got tremendous power. Don't try and hit it far. Try and hit it hard.
Came around that ball and kind of hooked it right down into his foot. But you're right, and here's the approach is think opposite field. He doesn't have the kind of velocity where you got to start your bat quick.
We know from watching Francisco, especially at batting practice, he can hit the ball out in left field just as easy as he can in right field.
Full count. Laurie at second, Navarro at first. They both singled. Line drive, and Laurie does a good job to get back to second. He froze on the line drive and hustled back to the bag to stay out of the double play.
Good base running right there. Your first instinct is I'm going to score on a base hit, but you're told by your coaches at first and third, line drive, you got to freeze, and that's exactly what Brett does, and he freezes on the line drive and gets back easily.
Anthony Gose with one out. Here's another matchup I think that favors the Blue Jays hitter. I think Anthony Gose is a candidate for a good night tonight.
Yeah, he's been a little bit of a mini slump right now. Look for the heater.
So I'm going to pitch maybe off the plate inside. It's 1-1.
The problem that he has had, he hasn't been as patient at the plate as he was earlier in the season. Kevin Seitzer was talking about him looking for the ball out over to the plate. Look for something that you can handle.
Isn't that interesting? When he first joined the ball club, he did a heck of a job of getting his walks and showing patience. And then as soon as things go south for him, he started to expand his zone and swing at everything.
So his hitting coach recognized that, said, let's get back to where you were. Take the ball the other way.
Reyes is on deck. Blue Jays have had 4 hits through the first 8 spots in the order. Reyes grounded back to the pitcher his first time up. Ball fourth, got to load the bases. So the first time through the 9-man batting order, 5 Blue Jays reach base, but they've yet to cross home. Jose Reyes will bat for a second time here in the second inning. That's not a good ratio for Kevin Correa.
Yeah, you got to figure eventually somebody's going to come across if you're going to put all these runners on base. This might be the right guy in the right spot right here. He has been hot.
3-hit game last night, including a home run. Had a pair of singles and a solo home run. Reyes has hit a lot against Kevin Correa, both having spent a lot of time in the National League.
Key guy here is Gose at first base. Anything on the ground, he's got to get a big secondary lead to try and break it up.
Reyes went after that high pitch. That's basically the pitch he had out of the ballpark last night.
Looked so inviting. Just fouled that one back.
Reyes has a couple of grand slams. He's a .279 hitter with the bases jammed, and that's the way they are right now. But he's behind 0-2. Oh, what a play by Correa. He backhanded, and they're only going to get Laurie, but they keep the Blue Jays off the scoreboard. He swiped at it behind his back and made a desperation play. That looked like it had a chance to get through up the middle.
How many times have we seen this by the pitcher and they have no chance to catch it? This time he throws his glove down there and it finds the padding. This is a two-run single right here. Curveball right back through the middle, sticks the glove down and then goes home, and all I can get is the one out at the plate. Wow.
So now Melky Cabrera with the bases still loaded, but now there are 2 outs. Bouncing ball. Joe Mauer will flip to Correa, and he gets out of it. The Blue Jays in the first 2 innings have stranded 5, and the Twins have a 2-0 lead. Bats in every game-changing play. Blue Jays in 60 seconds after every game, only on Sportsnet.ca. Blue Jay fans trying to motivate the Blue Jays. They've stranded 5 base runners already. They have gotten to Kevin Correa, but he's been able to wiggle out of the jams in the first 2 innings. The shortstop is Eduardo Escobar. He'll lead things off for Minnesota. Happ delivers a first pitch strike. Escobar's switch hitter. Well, he just tried to poke that thing through the right side and fouled it into the seats. Little chopper. Reyes from short tries to barehand it and had a swing and a miss. Now Escobar is headed to second, and he'll get there with a double. Desperation try by Reyes. That's basically the only play he had in order to throw out Escobar. That's his 20th double of the season.
And that might be the easiest one right there. 2 strikes. He's just trying to make contact. Reyes knows that he's got a do-or-die play with the bare hand, and he whiffs on it. And once that happens, with his speed, he's going to make it easily in the second base. Sees that Reyes misses it and makes it without a throw.
Is that a double to the shortstop?
Ground ball to no man's land for a double.
Back to the top of the order. Danny Santana shows bunt. Santana walked in the first and scored on Dozier's home run. Blue Jays expecting a bunt. And Santana takes his strike. It's 1-1. Well, here's another dynamic of Laurie playing second base. He can really free up Edwin Encarnacion, the first baseman, because he can cover so much ground. Edwin can really crash early from first to make a play on a possible punt.
He's got so much range. You got to hold your position until he squares, because they might take it off.
He wasn't bunting on the 1-1 pitch. Now it's 2-1. Brett Laurie's motor's always running, isn't it?
If they hit a ground ball to him, he's so close, might be able to go to third. That's where you're always thinking right there. Runner at second base, ground ball to the right side. He's going to try and go to third base. The infield was in. If this ball hit on 1 or 2 hops, take a look. You might be able to get that runner.
Santana trying to hit it toward Laurie, trying to move the runner from second to third. These are all things. You have verbal communication, you have visual communication. You can catch the eye of Francisco over at third, say, hey, heads up, if I get a hot shot, I'm coming your way.
You know who was good at that? Robbie Alomar. His head was in the game all the time.
Ooh, good pitch by Happ, down and in, and that's a big strikeout for Jay Happ. 1 down. That'll bring Brian Dozier to the plate, who's homered in each of the 2 games.
Well, I think he's good in 2 spots. Down and in, where this knuckleball went from R.A. Dickey, and then up. He can really handle that high pitch. And watch this one from Jay Happ. It's up, and he just stays right with it and drives through it. 2 home runs in 2 nights. That's number 14 for Dozier.
We know he can hit that high fastball. Let's see if they can get a ball down and away from him. Trying to get it away, but didn't get it down. Escobar at second. He had a leadoff double. Just a bouncing ball that went past Reyes into left field. One and two. Dozier played baseball at University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. He too, like so many players on his Twins roster, a draft pick by the Twins. Dozier was selected in the 8th round. 1-2, 1 out. Breaking ball pulled foul. Well, he's the kind of guy you see at the plate, and as a catcher, I would always make the generalization, boy, we can get the fastball by this guy, but it's like Dustin Pedroia in Boston.
I don't think so. He's quick, you know, on the inner half. Just when you think you have him set up and you think you can get that fastball by him, he's going to pull it.
Off-speed pitch, and this is going to hook foul. Brian Dozier is a high ball hitter, and this is his home run chart so far.
Look at all the red dots that are up, meaning fastballs that are up part of the strike zone where he likes it, just like the home run he hit here tonight. In, I think you have to go away, I think, and you got to make him reach for the ball. Take away that power.
Boy, he's quick inside.
They missed their spot that time. They wanted that ball down and away, and Jay Happ's fastball came right back over the inner half.
Brian Dozier leads all Major League second basemen in home runs.
Over the last 2 years, he's led all Major League second basemen in home runs. He's got 32 now.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Minnesota has a 2-0 lead. Dozier's 2-run homer in the first. Now it's full.
I don't think in is where you got to get him out. I think it's away. He has only had all season long 4 hits to right field. That's it. He's right on top of the plate. I think if you keep the ball away from him, make him reach for it.
Reach for that breaking ball, but he's still able to get wood on it. Quite a battle going on between Jay Happ and Brian Dozier. 1 out in the 3rd inning, and Happ has thrown 50 pitches already. Navarro and Happ didn't seem to put their heads together, so now Navarro's going to go out and talk. Happ got a sign, stepped on the rubber, didn't like it, and then Navarro said, you know what, let's talk about it. Obviously, runner in scoring position, you want to make sure that you have the pitcher's commitment to a pitch. Popped up and playable. Carnacion out. Laurie calls him off. The second baseman makes the catch. Two down. So Happ won that long battle with Brian Dozier, and now he has 2 outs to face Joe Mauer. Escobar still at second base. He had the bouncing ball double that Reyes tried to barehand, and it got past him. Mauer grounded out to Laurie, who is in deep right with Bautista practically.
This is the spot that Joe Mauer has struggled with this year, if you can say that. He's always been a great hitter, especially against left-handed pitching. But this year it hasn't come through for him. They've been able to make pitches on him. He's hitting over 200 versus the lefties this year.
He hasn't hit well with runners in scoring position either. For the season, he's hit 143 with runners in scoring position. He used to have the benefit of Justin Morneau hitting behind him. That's no longer the case.
He's just a good hitter. And as GM was talking the other day about the shifts that have really hurt him, he's hit some balls back through the middle that shortstops have gobbled up this year. In the past, they were base hits. It's an interesting defensive alignment that the Blue Jays throw out there. The infield have him to pull, and the outfield has Joe Mauer playing the other way. So anything in the air, he gets underneath it, and he's a little bit late. Anything on the ground, he's liable to pull it.
Way outside, it's now 2-2. That has been pretty much the way he has hit throughout his career, taking the pitches up in the zone and shooting them to left and left center. Now it's a full count. Working Mauer down and away. Josh Willingham singled his first time up. If Mauer can reach, it'll be Willingham next. Ball 4. So Willingham will step to the plate with 2 on and 2 outs.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Pete Walker with a short visit to the mound. He had a conversation with Happ and to Deanna Navarro. Maybe asking a little bit about the strike zone, but maybe about the tempo of the game.
Yeah, make it a little bit quicker. Maybe use your fastball just a little bit more. You see, Pete, he has a message that he wants to give to the catcher, Deanna Navarro. Yeah, he's not even saying anything to Happ. That was a message for the catcher. Maybe you're right, a strike zone, or maybe let's see some more fastballs right here. We can't throw so many breaking balls.
There's a fastball for a strike. Happ is at his best when he's using that fastball. Josh Willingham singled through the 5-6 hole at short in the first. Message delivered. 0-2.
You know, now you can change the eye plane if you want to throw a fastball that's up to Willingham. Maybe he'll chase it and then come right back with something down in the strike zone.
Took a shot at that down and away corner and missed. But you're right. Once you establish that you're going to pitch ahead, hitters have to expand their hitting zone. Now it's 2-2. You don't want to go to 3-2 in this situation with 2 outs. Allow both base runners to be off on the pitch. Escobar at second, Mauer at first. Now they'll be off on the pitch. It's a full count. Kendrys Morales, a switch hitter, is on deck. The Twins have 3 switch hitters in their lineup tonight.
It's a team that's very patient at the plate. They see the most pitches per plate appearance than any team in baseball. So you got to execute, got to make your pitch.
And Happ's not really sure about this next pitch. Stepped off the rubber. Shaking it off right there. Don't want that one. Let's start over again. Chad Jenkins starts to loosen up for the Jays. There go the runners. Hot shot to Reyes. He'll have to go to first, and that ends the inning. So Jay Happ had a long inning, but he strands a pair of base runners. Blue Jays trail by 2. When we come back, it'll be the number 3 hitter, Jose Bautista. He's single already. Then Encarnacion and Lynn. Tuesday, June 24th, the Blue Jays will take on the New York Yankees. Game time is 7:07 p.m. The first 15,000 fans will receive a social media at Maple Jays t-shirt giveaway. Call Blue Jays for tickets at 416-341-1234 or log online at bluejays.com to get your tickets for Connect with the Jays Night, presented by Honda. Jose Bautista lined to right field on the first pitch he saw from Kevin Correa. It's one of the few curveballs we've seen from Correa so far. Correa began his career with the San Francisco Giants. He was part of the Giants organization from 2002 to 2008. Went to the Padres for 2 years. Then moved to Pittsburgh before signing a free agent deal. Big hop for Nunez at third. Bautista is thrown out.
The film event you've been waiting for has finally arrived. Don't miss DreamWorks How to Train Your Dragon 2 in theaters Friday.
Kevin Correa will face Edwin Encarnacion with 1 out. One and one. Correa was drafted by the Giants in the 4th round out of Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Not many baseball guys come out of there, but there's a Hall of Famer that played there.
Yeah, there's one that I know of. He was a shortstop, wasn't he?
Ozzie Smith. Beautiful campus on the coast of California, north of Santa Barbara. Ground ball. Escobar deep at short in time. 2 down. Adam Lind has had a bounce back season this year. And you go back to 2009 when he was the Silver Sluggers, the DH. That's when he had that great OPS of 932. Since then, it's been a decline until this year when it spiked once again.
Well, 2 reasons, I think. Number one, he's healthy again. The back seems to be cooperating, and he feels good at the plate. Then also, I think with Kevin Seitzer here, I think they've really clicked, the new hitting coach. Seitzer was the same type of hitter as Adam Lind, where you use the whole field and you stay inside the ball. Lind has more power than Seitzer, but they've really clicked their theories of hitting and what it takes to be a successful hitter here at the big league level. Lind is good when he's shooting the ball right over the shortstop's head.
Paul Molitor, who is in charge of the infield defense, has made a pretty dramatic move here with Lind at the plate. He has shifted 3 defenders on the first base side of second, and Nunez remains at shortstop. Molitor's watching the alignment.
And they're pitching him away. That's right into Adams' strength, going the other way.
And drives this one the other way. Willingham got a good break and makes a nice catch. Easy inning for Correa in the 3rd. We'll go to the 4th. The Twins are up 2-0. Tablet. Baseball fans, sign up at nextissue.ca/baseball and get an extended 60-day free trial. Jay Happ was able to get out of a tough situation in the top of the 3rd, but the Twins have made him throw a lot of pitches early on.
That's why I think it's imperative here next couple of innings to really use the fastball, try to have some single-digit innings right here so he can stretch this start out a little bit longer. Blue Jays have been pretty consistent at right around that 100-pitch mark that they start going towards the bullpen, start looking to make a pitching change. He's sitting at 63 already through 3 innings.
Jay Happ has had 4 starts over 100. He's had 1 right at 100. Then 106, 110, and his season high 116 came on the 30th of May when he went 7 2/3. Kendrys Morales grounded into a double play his first time up. Be interesting to see if Happ uses his fastball more in this half inning. Pete Walker went to the mound with 2 outs and 2 aboard and looked like he was delivering a message more to the catcher than the pitcher.
Well, he could sink his fastball also. I think it's going to be very effective against the right-handed batters. that will be coming up this inning. Show him the breaking ball every now and then, but pitch ahead because you need some quick innings.
Bounce that breaking ball. Short turnaround tomorrow. It's a day game, and the game starts at 12:30. Reyes at short with a long throw and not being timed. Morales has an infield hit.
Leadoff hitter on base now for the third time in 4 innings. Ball hit right to the hole. No chance for Reyes to make that play.
Osvaldo Arcia hit a sinking line drive into center field that Ghost made a nice catch on. It was the first out of the top of the second. Two and 0. Happ as a starter has gone 5-2. The good ERA coming into this game at 4.12.
He does not have the command that we've seen in his last few starts. He's been very good, pitching deep into the ball game, attacking the strike zone. But tonight, and right now, I sense a little frustration in Jay right now, that he just can't get that ball where he wants it.
Green light on the 3-0 pitch, and Arcia fouled it straight back.
Young man's got some power. He's played 12 games. He's had 6 multi-hit games in his last 12. So why not? Give him a chance to knock one out of here.
Yeah, he's got extra base pop too. He's got 4 doubles, a triple, and 4 home runs. Another walk. That's the 3rd walk issued by Jay Happ. Blue Jays have lost 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals over the weekend, and they won last night. But you have to look at the standings and appreciate just what a run they've been on. 39-26. They're 5.5 games ahead of the Orioles, who are in 2nd place. They will face the Orioles, the Yankees, and the Cincinnati Reds on the upcoming road trip, a 10-game road trip. And 4 games in Baltimore will be a good test for both of those clubs.
Yeah, you'll see either some separation, or the Orioles get a little bit closer, or you get a good gauge of what the Blue Jays, if they're for real or not, I think, on this next road trip.
It's an interesting take, and obviously when you get back into the East at this time of the year, you have an idea what you're dealing with. John Gibbons thinks that they're going to swing away, and they do. He is right on the money. Bautista plays it on a hop as Morales will stop at 3rd, and Nunez is looking across the diamond and said, "Hey, can't you score on that?"
New teammate, you got to rib him a little bit. Gibby was right on. He was given the sign that he likes to go the other way. That was it right there. He likes to shoot the ball the other way. The pitch is down and away. Nunez stays right with that one. The infield was thinking bunt, and the manager was telling him no, he's going to swing away.
Nunez is a good offensive player, and in that situation, Twins are up by 2. And we have seen him struggle in his sacrifice bunting attempts in the past, so they want him swinging away. Bases loaded for Kurt Suzuki. Breaking ball missed. Twins aren't offering it any of those breaking balls. It's like they're picking it up early out of his hand, and you see Jenkins up for a 2nd time already tonight.
Yeah, right now Jay has gone to battle without one of his weapons, his curveball. Has not been able to throw it for a called strike.
Now 2-0. Pete Walker once again out to the mound. Bases are loaded. Nobody out. Blue Jays walked in a couple of runs in the Saturday game against the Cardinals. In the 8th inning, they walked 4 Cardinals, one intensely, and 2 of them came with the bases loaded. Nothing a coach or manager can do in these situations when your pitcher is struggling to throw strikes.
Yeah, trying to hit his spots, and you can't carry out a game plan when you can't hit your spots and do what you're trying to do. You need to take a big deep breath here and just concentrate on one good pitch here.
Suzuki fouls it off the glove of Deanna Navarro. 2 balls and a strike. Blue Jays need a comebacker to the mound.
Yeah, just like Correa got the bases loaded. You don't have to do the fancy glove work.
Strike 2. Happ has just 1 strikeout. He struck out Danny Santana in the 3rd. Got 2. Big strikeout for Jay Happ.
And he did it with the heater. 3 fastballs, and he got a hot hitter in Suzuki. Been torching the Blue Jays this year. Good spot with that one down. And a big strikeout.
Shortstop Eduardo Escobar, and once again, John Gibbons is trying to get the attention of the defense.
Well, he knows that Escobar can run. Anything slowly hit, it looks like he's telling his infielders he wants them to come home.
Big wild swing. There's a chase on a breaking ball. Escobar has just 2 grounded into double plays this season.
That back swing looks like it got Deanna. It's happened a couple of times to him on this homestand.
Happ is ahead 0-2. Where does he go now?
I think a high heater right here. Maybe you'll get him to chase. Maybe you'll get him to pop it up. Maybe you'll get him to swing through it. He hasn't seen a fastball yet.
Good call. Back-to-back strikeouts. He gets the number 8 hitter and the number 9 hitter. And Jay Happ trying to strand the bases loaded.
Goes to the same pitch that he got Suzuki with. Challenges him with that fastball, and he comes out a winner.
Back to the top of the order. Danny Santana has walked and struck out. Bases are still loaded. Once again, a fastball to jump ahead of Santana. Late on that fastball at 94.
Little something extra on that one. Jay reached back for something, got up to 95, and he almost got it on that corner. He's at his best when he's attacking the strike zone and using that fastball.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Breaking ball bounced in the dirt, and Santana laid off. 2-2. Now, here's where I might switch it up a bit. Throw him another breaking ball, he might swing. Young hitter, very aggressive, wants to deliver a big hit. This bounced a curveball. Fastball he's laid on. Another good fastball at 95.
Yeah, he's reaching back for everything he's got right now. Try and finish off this inning. Keep it a 2-0 ball game.
Center fielder Danny Santana with a 2-2 count. Good hack. 96. A tick up. Bases are loaded. Kendrys Morales had an infield single. Then Arcia walked. He's at second, and Nunez had a base hit to right. The bases were loaded with nobody out. Suzuki struck out. Escobar struck out. Now Happ is trying to finish the job. Bouncing ball up the third base line. Francisco throws it away. 1 run is in, and here comes another. Juan Francisco barehanded it, threw high to first. They weren't going to get Santana. It was just chopped up the third baseline.
Come on, go.
Might have been better off just to pick that one up. He tries to get him, but you can see Santana's already crossed at first base. No chance to get Morales at the plate. He got a good jump off that third base bag, and another run will score when the ball goes down the right field line. So John Gibbons out. 4th inning. He's got to go to his pen once again.
So Jay Happ has to leave the ball game. He couldn't quite finish the job, and the air hurt him. Chad Jenkins in when we come back. Disappointing into the outing for Jay Happ. He had a couple of strikeouts and then worked tough to Danny Santana, who reached on an infield hit that allowed 1 run to score. Second run came in on an error, and now with 2 outs, Chad Jenkins into the ballgame.
5 games this year for Jenkins, no record with an ERA of 4.26. Last pitched out of relief in Detroit, where they stretch him out for 2 1/3. Long man, second long man in the bullpen.
Did the ball very well in that outing in Detroit on Thursday. He was an out away from picking up the save, but couldn't quite finish the deal. Gave up a 2-out single and a 2-out walk to Alex Avila, and then Casey Janssen came in, threw 1 pitch and got the save. Brian Dozier has homered already tonight.
Well, he's going to have to do, Chad's going to have to do what Todd Redmond did a couple of nights ago against the St. Louis Cardinals. He came in and threw 5 shutout innings out of the bullpen. And Jenkins can do that. He's stretched out.
Chad Jenkins started down in AAA Buffalo, and he was able to start 5 games, and that got him stretched out. He felt like it gave him an opportunity to really refine his pitches, and we have seen a different slider since he's come back. 0-2 to Brian Dozier. Pulled to third base. Francisco will take his time and throw him out. Twins strand a pair, but they scored 2 runs on 3 hits in a Blue Jays error. They've taken a 4-0 lead. A good month. He singled in his first at-bat, but look at Lori's splits, his first 23 games in the last 35.
I think he's starting to figure out who he is as a hitter. He's got some power. We've seen that. Look at the RBIs and the extra base hits between those first 23 and those last 35. But he's using the whole field. We've seen better at-bats at the plate with 2 strikes, shooting the ball the other way. His swing seems to be a little bit shorter. And I think he's just finding out who he is offensively.
It's kind of interesting as well that Lori, hitting as a second baseman, has hit 270. As a third baseman, it's 228. So sometimes when a fielder changes positions, he'll take his doubts and his inconsistencies in the field to the plate. That hasn't been the case with Lori.
Not at all. He has really looked good over the last month or so.
Pops this one up back behind home plate. Suzuki will watch it sail over the screen. Out of play. You know, you mentioned Lori's hitting with 2 strikes. He has a 200 average with 2 strikes, but that's 25 points better than the major league average. And he's cut down his stroke. He trusts his hands to allow him to get to the ball.
And I asked Kevin Seitzer, I said, what's the deal with him? He says he's thinking about hitting the ball up the middle.
Off the end of the bat, Joe Mauer will have to toss to Correa quickly. And Laurie is out by about a half a step. Mauer looked like he was going to run to the bag and then recognized it was Laurie running up from home.
Yeah, so the pitcher better be there. You can see Joe take it off, and now he cuts down the distance between the throw between himself and the pitcher. And a good job by Correa. Get up that line and start coming up the first base line to receive that ball, catch it, tag the bag, and get out of the way.
Six straight retired by Kevin Correa now. Gianni Navarro had a single in the second inning. He and Brett Laurie singled to start the inning. Goes after the first pitch, and it's a bouncing ball to second. Dozier throws him out. Jay Happ started for the Blue Jays, and he's been good recently, but he had a tough day here. Gave up a 2-run home run in the first to Brian Dozier, and then got into trouble in the fourth and got a couple of strikeouts. Looked like he was going to get out of it. And then a bouncing infield hit led to his leaving the ball game. He goes 3 2/3, allows 6 hits, 3 earned runs. A 4th run was unearned. Well, that's the plight of a starting pitcher. Come out of a game in the 4th inning, and now you got to wait 5 more days before you pitch again.
You do everything in between your starts. You do your running and your weights and your training and your throwing on the side and everything, all for the start, and then you're gone after 89 pitches, 3 2/3. He'll figure it out and get ready for his next start.
Juan Francisco lined out to the second baseman his first time up. Francisco committed to throwing error with 2 outs in the top half of this inning. That's his 6th error of the season. Two and one.
That good movement on that fastball to the lefties. The one that sinks down and away. Looks like he takes a little something off his fastball. It's only 86 miles an hour, but he had good movement on it.
Francisco strikes out. That's the first strikeout of the night for Kevin Correa. We'll go to the 5th. The Twins have a 4-0 lead. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. John Gibbons, as is the case every Tuesday here at Rogers Center. John, it just didn't look like Jay Happ had command of his fastball tonight, and that elevated his pitch count early.
Yeah, Buck, and that's what happened. He had to work way too hard today, and then they they put some good long at bats on, squared some ball up. They got the home run the first to put them up. So, our bats have definitely cooled off. So we got to scratch some things out and have some better bats. And we're still in this thing. In this ballpark, you're never really out of it. But we got to shut them down from here on out.
Gibby, you had Pete go out there, and it looked like he was delivering a message to both the catcher and the pitcher. What was the message that he sent out there?
Well, I'm not sure. I just told him to go out there and give him a blow in that one situation. But he's got to attack, pick up the pace a little bit. Keep those guys behind you, on their toes a little bit. But we're still in this ball game. Like I said, we just need to get our bats going.
All right, Gibby. Thanks for your time.
Okay, guys.
Sean Gibbons, as he always does on Tuesday, joins us from the dugout. So Blue Jays now look to Chad Jenkins to put up a few zeros and give the Jays hitters a chance to get back in this game. It'll be Joe Mauer leading things off for Minnesota, and he takes the ball up and away.
I couldn't agree more with Gibby on his assessment on what happened and what the Jays have to do right now. They need zeros from Chad Jenkins, and he's got to figure out, got to get the offense going a little bit more.
Blue Jays have just 4 hits. Minnesota has 6, and they have a 4-0 lead. 2 balls and a strike to Mauer, leading off the top half of the 5th. Glory is playing way out there in shallow right field. He throws out Mauer for a second time tonight.
The 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
That's the Toronto Police Station down on the harbor area, right down by Queens Quay. Beautiful evening. A lot of people visiting down on the lake shore. Josh Willingham hits a hot shot to Reyes. Shortstop throws him out. 2 down. Jenkins has retired all 3 batters he's faced with ground balls.
He's got great movement on his fastball. He's not afraid to use it either. Attacks with it. And as a hitter, that's tough to get on top of that ball. You keep knocking it right into the ground when he's got that good sink working.
Kendrys Morales has grounded into a double play, and he had an infield single. He scored a run in the 4th. Well, that's a good fastball in a good spot. There's a ball drilled toward the alley, and that's going to go all the way to the wall. Morales is around first. He's headed for second.
It's going to be a nice pickup, I think, for the Minnesota Twins. Kendrys Morales, 23 home runs, 80 RBIs, 156 games last year with Seattle. Changeup, and he stays back on that one. Lets it travel, lets it get deep, and he drills it.
Well, that's the old Morales swing we became used to seeing with the Angels and the Mariners. He had a single in the game last night, and that was his first game of the season. He has been working out at his agent's complex in Florida. Scott Boras has a complex where a lot of his clients will work out. Stephen Drew was there before he signed with the Red Sox.
Been hitting off of Joel Pinheiro, former major leaguer down there, just trying to get that timing and keep it. You know, you can take all the BP you want, but it doesn't simulate a game action, I'll tell you that.
Well, we saw Morales take extra BP before the game yesterday, and he was smoking the ball. 0-2, 2 outs. Osvaldo Arcia has lined out and walked. That hit him, and looked like it hit him in the back leg. He got a shin guard on the front leg with nothing on the back leg, and that looked like a slider that tracked him and clipped him on that back leg.
Looked like he really wanted that strikeout, so he overthrows that slider. Looked like it got him right on the ankle bone.
Well, right inside that left ankle. And you're right, there's very little protection there to hit him on that ankle inside of his foot, and looks like he's going to try to make his way to first base. He was on the disabled list early in the season, and he's only been activated at the end of May, so I'm sure he is reluctant to leave this ball game.
Yep, what they used to say, got to walk it off.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Slider. Just held on to it a little bit too long.
So now there are two aboard with 2 outs, and the free swinger Eduardo Nunez, and he's a very aggressive first pitch hitter.
There you go. So throw him that sinker down and in and have him beat it right off your foot. And that looked like it got Nunez.
Well, these shoes nowadays are so light, they're basically like tennis shoes with spikes on them. So there's very little protection on the instep of your foot. And he's hurting.
Yeah. Right off that front foot.
Joe Vavra is the third base coach. He is down checking on Nunez. Looked like it might have hit him in the leg as well, and you can't figure out what hurts more. That left shin or the right leg. Well, Chad Jenkins has that kind of fastball. You get just the top half of that baseball because it sinks so dramatically.
That's why we've seen so many ground balls. And you've got that sinker for a right-handed batter. You're looking for a fastball. You're trying to get out there and yank it to left field. Get on top of it. You hit it right off your foot. Yeah, he knows. He knows how hard that ball is sinking on him.
Throw it again. 0-1, 2 outs. Jenkins got 2 quick outs, and then Morales hit a double. And then he hit Arcia to put him at first, and now Nunez is the batter with an 0-1 count. Yeah, he came right back inside.
You have to. As a hitter, you don't want to swing again.
Well, you certainly don't want to hit yourself in the leg again. He makes sure that he gets the head out on that inside pitch. That ball was right in on his hands, and he said, you know, I'm going to hit this one foul. I don't care. Just keep it off my body. Little squibber off the end of the bat. That was the breaking ball. Chad Jenkins was a former #1 pick by the Blue Jays out of Kennesaw State. Blue Jays went right back to Kennesaw State, and now they've drafted a catcher out of that same college. 21-year-old Max Pentecost. Here's a first rounder. There's a ball driven to left field. Melky Cabrera has a bead on it, and the Twins will leave 2. Chad Jenkins gets out of it in the 5th. Blue Jays need a rally. They trail by 4. MLB.com, and that is the official app of Major League Baseball. You can listen to live audio, follow games pitch by pitch, and enjoy in-game video highlights. Season-long subscription packages are available. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Pick it up today. MLB.com at bat. Be a great gift for Dad on Father's Day. Everybody's got it working here tonight at Rogers Center. They're all checking out the other scores around. Everybody having a good time here. Blue Jays have played very well at Rogers Center. They are 20-15 for the season here at home. If you think that's unusual, it's really unusual, the fact that they're the only team in the AL East that has a winning record at home.
How about that? Only 2 teams in the American League with 20 wins at home.
Cleveland and the Blue Jays, the only 2 teams that have won 20 or more games. Cleveland has 21 wins at home. Anthony Gose. Blue Jays need some base runners. They haven't broken through against Kevin Correa. They stranded 5 base runners in the first 2 innings.
Let him off the hook just a little bit in those first couple of innings, and Correa's starting to settle down.
2-1 now.
Last base runner to reach was Anthony Gose.
He had a walk back in the second inning. There's a drive into left field. Willingham gets over and makes a nice running catch. So with 1 out, that'll bring the shortstop to the plate, Jose Reyes. And you look back to his season, and it's been a dramatic turnaround since May 6th.
His timing just wasn't there after he got back off the disabled list with the hamstring problem, so he struggled up until May the 6th. But since then, we have seen how electric he is and how exciting what he can do. And consequently, Blue Jays have put together a pretty good record. They've won 23 out of 32 games since Jose started hitting it.
Now, he is just such an upbeat personality, and I wish all the fans could see him during batting practice. Boy, he is fun to watch. He has fun taking batting practice, and then he goes out and takes ground balls. He'll take ground balls off the bat of Luis Rivera, but once he's finished with ground balls, he stays out as shortstop and he chirps at every other hitter that steps in the box. He is a lot of fun.
Yeah, well, and that rubs off on teammates.
There's a drive to right, and Arcia is there. A couple of sharp line drives here in the 5th, but nothing to show for it. I tell you what, Reyes is really hit in tough luck. When you go back into the 2nd, he hit what looked to be a single through the middle that Kevin Correa swiped behind his back, caught it in his glove, and then threw home for the force out.
It looked like it was going to be a 2-run single. And as it stands right now, where we are in the 5th inning, that might be the turning point of the ballgame. That play, that at bat against Jose.
Came with the bases loaded and 1 out. Correa, just a desperation grab, went behind his back and snagged the ball in his glove, and then went home to force out Laurie. John Gibbons referred to it when he joined us from the dugout. He said the Blue Jays hitters need to have some tougher at bats, make Correa work a bit. Correa has retired 10 straight now. 3-1.
I like to see him to start stringing things together, coming up with the big base hit. Home run's been a big part of it, but for the Blue Jays to win, they can't rely solely on the home run. They're going to have to come up with some big base hits.
Cabrera was out on that front foot and lifts it into right. Another easy inning for Kevin Correa. Blue Jays go down in order. And we'll go to the 6th, and here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. 2014 induction class of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. The inductees include Dave Van Horn, Jim Ridley, Murray Cook, and Tim Wallach. Induction ceremonies will be held on Saturday, June 21st in St. Mary's, Ontario. There will also be autograph appearances by Devon White, George Bell, and Dwayne Ward. Visit baseballhalloffame.ca for more information. Congratulations to that Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame class of 2014. Top of the 6th. Kurt Suzuki takes a strike. Twins catcher has gone 0 for 2. Another ground ball. Reyes takes a tricky hop, throws Suzuki out.
Canon's Best in Glass sales event. Performance cameras and lenses at the season's best prices. Visit canon.ca/bestinglass.
Chad Jenkins entered the ballgame in the 4th inning and got the final out of the inning. Then he gave up a double to Kendrys Morales with 2 outs and hit Arcia, but was able to get out of the inning by retiring Eduardo Nunez. Eduardo Escobar, the shortstop, that's left-handed against Jenkins. He's a switch hitter. Twins have 3 switch hitters in their lineup now with the signing of Kendrys Morales.
They've got some speed also, and Dozier, a little power. There's nothing wrong with their offense. They've got a decent offensive team. And I think before it's all said and done, they'll make some noise in the American League Central. That's up for grabs.
What does the signing of Morales mean to you as far as the intent of the Twins?
I think they're all in. That they think that they can win the American League Central and get into the playoffs. And that's good to see. There was a time in the 2000s where this team regularly was either in the playoffs, as you see Jenkins once again slip that fastball by Escobar, or they were close to getting into the playoffs, and they did it with good pitching and a good mix of defense and offense.
They've always been one of the best organizations at drafting and developing talent. When you go back to the early 80s when they had those great teams, a lot of the players were homegrown. Kent Herbeck, Kirby Puckett, Frank Viola, Gary Gaetti.
And then the next group of players that came along, the Mowers and Morneau.
Doug Minkiewicz was a terrific player they developed. They just did a great job of identifying talent and then finishing the job in the minor leagues.
Torrey Hunter came up through the farm system. He's a great pro.
Jock Jones was a center fielder with Torrey Hunter there. 2 down. Right back to the mound. Jenkins has a quick inning. Chad Jenkins is doing his part. Now it's up to the Blue Jay hitters to solve Kevin Correa. He's shutting them out on just 4 hits. of TD. Welcome to the ballpark. Beautiful night at Rogers Center. Roof is wide open. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are folks from Holland Blue Review Kids Rehabilitation Hospital. Welcome to you as well, and we're glad you're here tonight. Hope you're having a good time at the ballpark. 20,681 in attendance tonight. Tomorrow afternoon, it promises to be a good crowd as the Blue Jays will wrap up their homestand. Three, 4, and 5 for the Jays against Correa here in the 6th. Ball on a strike to the Blue Jays right fielder. Jose singled to right field in the first inning. Blue Jays left a pair on in the first and left the bases loaded in the second.
Throwing a lot of breaking balls to the right-handers. A lot of them. Blue Jays have to pick up on that and maybe go to right field.
Correa has retired 11 straight. Look out. Trying to go down and away, and he missed all the way across the plate, inside off the plate.
I was talking to Jack Morris before the ball game. He said Correa will be cruising right along, and then all of a sudden hit a speed bump, and pitch starts coming, and they knock him out of the ball game. I hope that stays true.
Of course, Jack Morris is back with the Minnesota Twins. He is doing their TV analyst work with Dick Bremer, the play-by-play voice of the Twins.
And if anybody knows anything about pitching, it's Big Jack.
Bautista does a good job of spoiling that pitch. It's good to catch up with Jack. He has returned to his roots in Minnesota. Grew up there and pitched for the Twins, of course. That great World Series Game 7 effort, 1-0 pitch, the 1-0 shutout against the Atlanta Braves. Broken bat right to the shortstop. One down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you, Jamie. Pat Tabler, what do you do to turn the Tampa Bay Rays around? Wow.
I don't have an answer for him. I also didn't know they had the worst record in baseball, but
24-41.
Yeah, 369 winning percentage.
Many people picked them to win the American League East at the start of this season. Then they were hit by injuries to their pitching staff. Jeremy Hellickson still hasn't pitched for the big club. He's just been sent out on a rehab assignment. Alex Cobb was out. Matt Moore done for the year. So 3/5 of their starting rotation.
And they haven't had to worry about that, like, ever. At least on this nice little run that they've had over the last 5 or 6 years.
Encarnacion quickly behind, 0-2.
David Price is a little, well, he's not David Price, the Cy Young Award winner. He's not the same guy right now. Plus, they're not hitting.
There's a drive toward the alley in left center, and Santana gets over. The center fielder makes the catch. Danny Santana getting a little coaching from his left fielder, the veteran.
Correa threw a hanging breaking ball right there, and he's like, oh no, that one's out of the ball. Well, wait a minute, no, it's not out of the ballpark. My center fielder's going to run that one down.
Yeah, he knows he got away with one right there. He left it up out over the plate, but sometimes mistakes are hit in the air and turned into outs. Boy, this game turned around, as you mentioned, when Kevin Correa made that stab behind his back on a hot shot, one hopper back to the mound off the bat of Jose Reyes in the second. Blue Jays haven't had a base runner since.
Yeah, that thing goes through, and there's no telling what would have happened.
Two pitches on the outside edge. Lind is behind 0-2.
He's just made perfect pitches to the middle of this lineup. He's really neutralized the middle of the Blue Jays lineup.
One of the rare curveballs he's thrown so far this evening. This is the 5th career start for Kevin Correa. He has a 1-3 record against the Jays. His ERA coming into this game over 25 innings is 6.48. He has pitched a whale of a ball game tonight. Blue Jays have run into some pretty tough pitching going back to Saturday. Shelby Miller, and then Sunday Jaime Garcia.
Nice spot there. Velasco pitched into the 6th inning yesterday, had 6 strikeouts.
Brett Laurie will be next if Lynn can reach base and keep the inning alive. The Pitch Tracker is brought to you by Acer, official partner of the Toronto Blue Jays. It's always fun to watch the Pitch Tracker during the course of the game and just pick up on the patterns that a pitcher will use against a particular batter.
There's a pattern for you.
Everything's away.
Everything's away, so you got to take it away. Shoot a ball to left field.
There's a base runner. That snapped a streak of 13 straight retired by Kevin Correa. He's got away with a couple of pitches here. That one he didn't get away with.
Got ahead of Adam Lynn and then tried to nibble on the outside corner. Lynn wouldn't have anything to do it, and then he comes right back. Gets a pitch he can handle. Throw it and duck out of the way.
Chuck and duck. Lynn with the line drive into center. He's 1 for 3. Laurie has a hit and 2 trips.
Comes right back. Right on the outside corner.
Off the end of the bat. Dozier at second. Just in time to get Laurie. That ends the inning. Blue Jays get a 2-out single, and nothing more will go to the 7th. Kevin Correa shutting out the Blue Jays. 2014 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car for 16 years in a row, and the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
One of the hot zones for Brian Dozier is pitch that is up and in, and that's exactly where this ball is off of Jay Happ. Up and in, and he puts it out of the ballpark for his 14th home run. Deep to left field, got the Minnesota Twins off to a good start here in the first inning. 14th home run and his 32nd and 33rd RBI.
Good little player, and I think he made a good call. He might be headed to the All-Star game in his home ballpark at Target Field.
I'll tell you what, if he's not voted in, I'm sure John Farrell will take him as an extra man.
Foul ball. Tom Hallion had a long look at that. Joe Vavra, the third base coach, is going to go over and check with Hallion. He looked at it, hesitated before he allowed his mind to make up whether it was fair or foul. Watch the umpire here. He's going to back off, and the ball hits just outside. He has a look at it. Boy, that's a tough one. It looked like it might have caught a piece of that foul line, but Hallion looks at it before he signals foul. But once he made the call, he made no mistake about it. He took his time, saw the ball, it registered, and he called it foul. There's that slider we're talking about, and it's a different slider than Jenkins has had in the past. Got a little more tilt to it.
Get it off the hitting plane just a little bit more. He put that one in a good spot.
Gets a strikeout. His second strikeout since coming into the game. Let's check in with Jamie Kemp, who's got an update for us. How about that? He hit that off of Marco Estrada, the Brewers pitcher. Yeah, Travis d'Arnaud was hitting about $175. They sent him back to the minor leagues. Called up the veteran Taylor Teagarden, and he delivers immediately.
Yeah.
Daisuke Matsuzaka's on the mound for the Mets. He's allowed just 3 hits in 6 innings. Boy, Matsuzaka just keeps rolling along, doesn't he?
How does he do it?
Command,
control. Throws breaking ball over for strikes when he's behind. Mets gave d'Arnaud a good chance to make the team and become their #1 catcher. But right now it just hasn't worked for him.
Travis d'Arnaud, of course, going to the Mets in the R.A. Dickey deal, along with Noah Syndergaard, who's having some arm issues right now. Nice play by Jenkins. Mauer's retired, 2 down.
Boy, that was a nice play by Chad Jenkins. Because they shifted against Joe Mauer, that looked like it was going to head out into center field for a base hit. Chad falling off the mound makes a nice play.
So 2 outs here in the 7th. That gives Jenkins 3 complete innings of work. He came in the game with 2 outs in the 4th. He's allowed just 1 hit and struck out 2 since coming into the game. Josh Willingham is 1 for 3. Now it's 2 balls and a strike to the Twins left fielder. 3-1. Boy, that ball had a lot of sink, and it ran right off the inside edge.
Yeah, Willingham did a good job of laying off of that and taking it for the ball. He was looking for something out over the plate. Steve Delabar is getting loose. He got up at the start of this inning. It's probably be Chad's last inning if he can get through it.
Delabar last pitched on Saturday. Had just a third of an inning and a couple of walks. Kendrys Morales, the DH. He's 2 for 3 so far tonight. With 2 outs, look where Brett Lawrie is.
I can't see him. Oh, there he is. He is way out there.
When you get out that deep, you got to check with the right fielder to make sure you're not standing in his way.
You know, I asked John Gibbons about that today around the batting cage, and he says he can play out there because he charges the ball so well. His athleticism can get him to charge the ball. He's got a lot of ground to cover out there. Plus, he's got a very good arm, and he can make up for that long throw with that good arm.
And certainly Morales doesn't run well, but he hits the ball sharply, so that's a good combination to free up Lawrie. Kendrys Morales was in Florida, as we mentioned, working out. He didn't have any offers to sign. He was a free agent out of Seattle last year. He turned down a qualifying offer of over $14 million for a 1-year contract. But he was hitting down there with some of the other Scott Boras clients. And he didn't look rusty at all.
No, he's always been able to hit. Hit for power. He's a run producer.
And he strikes out this time. A couple of strikeouts in the inning for Chad Jenkins. He does a nice job. He goes 3 1/3. Experience and baseball IQ. Blue Jays baseball all season long only on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Great radio crew. Mike Will, they're in the booth with him along with Tom Young, and we are just upstairs above the radio broadcast booths downstairs here at Rogers Center. And another surprising start against the Blue Jays. They were shut out by Shelby Miller on 3 hits on Saturday. Jaime Garcia pitched very well against them on Sunday. Kevin Correa came into this ballgame not pitching very well, and he has pitched a gem so far.
Yeah, 1 win in his last 6 starts with the batters hitting over 340 against him, but he's lived on the edges tonight. He's used his sinker, his curveball, his slider, his changeup, his cutter, everything, and he stayed out of the middle of the plate. Here's another one.
Gianna Navarro, the number 7 hitter, will be 7, 8, 9. Navarro, Francisco, and then Anthony Gose. Getting late for the Blue Jays. Bottom of the 7th. Correa has been extremely efficient after the 2nd inning. The left-hander is Brian Dunsing, and the right-hander is Jared Burton.
I think that Ron Gardenhire is going to push Correa as long as he can, as long as he's getting outs in the first sign of trouble. He's got his bullpen ready in the matchups that he wants.
Popped up, and it'll be out of play. Boy, you're right, and I don't think there's any reason for Gardner to make any changes. Correa has been terrific. He gave up a 2-out base hit to Adam Lynn. That was the first base runner since the 2nd inning. That was in the 6th. He had a stretch of 13 straight Blue Jays retired.
As long as he's getting guys out, he's going to leave them out there. But the first sign of trouble, it can blow up and blow up fast against the Blue Jays. He's got his bullpen ready, and he won't be afraid to go to him.
There's a base hit into right field. Garcia will play on a couple of hops. Navarro's got 2 hits tonight. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Well, you were right on the money, Ron Gardner. He didn't waste any time. A leadoff single here in the 7th. He's already made the call for the left-hander. So Kevin Correa pitches into the 7th. He goes 6 innings plus a batter. He'll leave allowing just 6 hits. He'll turn it over to the bullpen. Brian Dunsing first out for the Twins. They have a 4-0 lead. Stats, stories, and scores. Follow us on Twitter at Sportnet. Kevin Correa talking with Rick Anderson, the pitching coach. Correa with a strong outing tonight. Got out of some early trouble in the first and second and settled in nicely. He'll turn things over to the left-hander, Brian Dunsing.
They've got 3 lefties in that bullpen, including one of their closers, so Brian Dunsing will take over. There are his numbers in 24 games. 2-seam, 4-seam fastball, a slider, and a slow curveball.
Steve Tollison, a pinch hitter batting for Juan Francisco, checks his swing and fouls it off. Tollison entered the game last night as a defensive replacement. He struck out in his only at bat. It came against Matt Guerrero, right-hander.
Dunsing's best pitch might be that changeup right there. It's got good depth to it. It's a circle changeup. Got to stay on it.
Tollison is 2 for 6 as a pinch hitter this season. Got a piece of it, and he stays alive. I think the Blue Jay players understand their roles now, and if they're in a situation where they're trailing late and the right-hander is started, when the left-hander comes in, Tollison more than likely will hit for Francisco, and Pilar will bat for Anthony Gose. Strike 3 called. Inside fastball, and Tollison is retired.
A couple of change-ups, and then he reaches back and he puts a good fastball right on the inner half, and that's a strike. Looks like it caught him by surprise a little bit. Out number 1.
Kevin Pilar will bat for Anthony Gose. Pilar had the game-winning single in last night's game in the bottom of the ninth. Breaking ball for strike 1.
Like a lot of the Minnesota Twins pitchers, Dunsing throws a lot of strikes. He'll throw strikes with 3 pitches.
Kevin Pilar has made some pretty significant adjustments, not so much mechanically, but more mentally, about being prepared to hit the fastball and trying to be more disciplined at the plate, not chase those breaking balls out of the zone.
And not thinking of the outcome, thinking of the process. What do I have to do to get a base hit? A lot of times young players will come up and they're so anxious to get hits, and they're thinking about the outcome of their at-bat instead of thinking about, well, what do I need to do to get a hit? Do I need to try and hit the ball back through the middle? Do I need to try and stay back just a little bit more and shoot the ball to right field?
I think one thing that gets overlooked, and it's probably the most important thing, is get a good pitch to hit.
It's always a good way to start. Good place to start is get a strike.
Protects that outside corner and stays alive. You know, when young hitters like Pilar come to the majors, they've had a lot of success. He was a .320 hitter in the minor leagues. But you have never seen consistency, breaking balls that break forever, and the best fastballs you've ever seen.
And pitchers being able to execute what they're trying to do to get you out, set you up. Not with the consistency of night in and night out and from the first inning through the ninth inning. So when you get a mistake, you got to hit it.
Reyes is on deck. Kevin Correa out of the game. Pilar again protecting that outside corner. Blue Jays are running out of time. They trail 4-0. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Navarro's at first. He had a leadoff single this inning. Bouncing ball. Nunez at third, goes to second. That's all they'll get. They get the lead runner. Now it's time for the play of the game, brought to you by Hungry Man. Try new pulled pork.
And right now, on top of the play of the game, it might be what turns out to be the turning point of this game. Watch how he stabs it. The bases are loaded, and he gets one out right there and is able to get out of the inning. That thing was heading towards center field. Probably would have been 2 runs, and who knows how many more. But that play right there by Correa, the play of the game.
Back to the top of the order. Jose Reyes has taken a collar so far tonight, batting right-handed for the first time. Reyes has a 10-game hit streak at stake. Plays off that outside pitch. 2-0. Blue Jays won in the bottom of the 9th in last night's game. Two balls and a strike.
Reyes doing his job right there, taking a pitch. His job right now, just get on base any way you can.
Three and one. Melky Cabrera is on deck. Melky is 1 for 3 tonight. Blue Jays have just 6 hits. Now they have another. Reyes hits it over the third baseman's head, and Pilar will stop at second. So Reyes has extended his hit streak to 11 straight.
It looked like Pilar had thoughts of going first to third on that base hit. First of all, Willingham, the left fielder, did a good job of getting over, cutting that ball off. Now the play is right in front of Pilar, and he knows he doesn't want to run into any outs. Here he comes around the bag, and it looked like he either tripped or he's trying to stop. And it looked like he tripped when he hit the bag.
2 aboard for Melky Cabrera. Reyes extends his hit streak to 11 games. Cabrera takes a strike. One and one now to Melky Cabrera, the Blue Jays left fielder. Lined right to Nunez. That'll end the threat. The Blue Jays get 2 on, but Melky Cabrera lines out to end the inning. We'll go to the 8th. Minnesota with a 4-0 lead. the Blue Jays have been shut out 3 times in the last 4 days, and it doesn't appear to be anything significant other than maybe chasing a few bad pitches.
A few here and there, and the pitchers that they're running into are making good pitches. They're hitting the corners, they're hitting their spots, and Blue Jays tonight are hitting the ball but right at people. That last out right there by Melky Cabrera, line drive right at the third baseman, that would have set up the whole inning right there. Correa makes a great play early in the game, so you just have to get out there and keep grinding, keep battling. Things will start to fall for you.
Steve Tonnison takes over defensively at second. That moves Laurie from second to third, and new left fielder is Kevin Pillar. Kevin Pillar is in center field. He hit for Anthony Gose, of course. Steve Delabar into the game, making his 28th appearance. Ball and a strike. Osvaldo Arcia, the right fielder, has walked. He was hit by a pitch. He's also lined out.
It's a good game right here for Delabar to come in and establish his fastball and do the things that made him an all-star last year. Pound down with that heater and then finish him off with that split.
There's a good split, and Arcia hits himself again with a foul ball. He got hit by a pitch on the left ankle in his last at bat, and then he fouls the ball off. Appeared to be his right leg. That last pitch. Chad Jenkins did a terrific job out of the bullpen. He went 3 1/3, allowed 1 hit, a walk, struck out 3, and threw just 46 pitches. Very efficient, good effort by Jenkins to keep the Blue Jays within striking distance.
That's what they needed right there. Fastball was diving all over the place.
It's a high pop foul down the left side, and Melky Cabrera is not going to get there. Bounces off the warning track. Yeah, this is a good opportunity for Steve Delabar to get some good positive feedback. More than anything, and you mentioned the fastball command, I think that's been something that he hasn't had on a regular basis. He's still not getting hit very hard.
Has a winning record. His ERA's a bit high. Last year it was fastball down, 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 down. Everything was down.
Steve Tonnison throws out Arcia, 1 down. When you look at the bullpen for the Blue Jays, and especially now with Dustin McGowan down in the pen, their opponent's batting average is pretty impressive across the board.
Yeah, look at the opponent's batting average. McGowan 135, Luke 180. Delabar, that's very good at 200, and Casey at 208. Throw in Brett Cecil, he's done some good work down there. I mean, they've got the pieces to the bullpen right now for John Gibbons to work with, and he'll use them when he needs to. And the long men have done their job. That's something they didn't have at all last year. A couple of long men out of the bullpen.
Todd Redmond had 5 good innings on Sunday. That certainly preserved the bullpen, kept them intact. There's a good fastball, 95 in a good spot. Eduardo Nunez is 1 for 3 so far tonight. There's a line drive to right. Bautista has to cut it off quickly, and he does. Nunez is 2 for 4. Take a look at the American League Central Division, and everybody anticipated the Tigers would run away and hide. That hasn't been the case. They've had some bullpen issues.
They've had their problems, and coming into this game tonight, who was the hottest team in the American League? The Cleveland Indians. They have won 9 out of 10. They get right back in there, just 2 games behind the Tigers.
They've won 3 in a row. We mentioned that they have won 21 games at home. They're 21 and 11 at Progressive Field.
How about the hurting they put on the Texas Rangers last night?
Beat the Texas Rangers 17-7. Lonnie Chisenhall with 3 home runs. He's got a good swing.
5 for 5. We saw that here. Chisenhall 5 for 5, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. That looked like a Browns Cowboys score.
Corey Kluber on the mound tonight against Kansas City. Giordano Ventura to the mound for the Royals.
You know, you were just talking about Chisenhall. He's driven in 22 runs over the last 10 games. And over the last 60 years, only one other Indians player has had 22 or more RBIs over a 10-game span. That was Juan Gonzalez in 2001.
There goes the runner, and the throw is in time as Tollison makes a nice tag and tags Nunez in the foot. Nunez arguing that he was already on the base when the tag was applied, and Ron Gardner, the Twins manager, is out of the dugout. Eric Cooper made the call at second.
Yeah, he's right on this one, too. It looked like hit and run by the Twins. Tollison goes over, catches it. He clearly tags him on his back foot, and he's not on the bag.
Boy, looks like he's out.
Mm-hmm.
That hand hadn't reached the base when Tollison caught the ball and put it right on his foot. He's out.
Yes.
Nice play by Tollison. The throw was into the base runner. He had to come in front of the baseline and stayed with the throw, put the tag on Nunez.
Good play by Tollison. Picks that one and just throws the glove back there and gets him. Good call, Eric Cooper.
Blue Jays haven't had a whole lot of success throwing out base runners. Just the 6th time that Navarro has caught a base stealer. Got some help from Tollison. Catcher Kurt Suzuki, after a 3-hit night last night, is 0 for 3 tonight. Brian Dozier hit a 2-run home run in the first that got the Twins off and running. Second consecutive first-inning home run for Dozier in this series. Well, that was another good fastball from Delabar. Acknowledged by Deanna Navarro after that pitch.
Can't guide it there. You got to throw it there. And that's what he did. Zeroed in on that outside corner and just chucked it in there.
Pulled that one across the plate. They were trying to go inside, but he still had some good velocity on it at 94. You know, this baseball season is all about cycles and hot streaks and ups and downs, and Blue Jay hitters have been down for a few games now. Now it's time for the bullpen to pick up the slack a bit. Starters have been terrific all season long, but when you look ahead to this upcoming 10-game road trip, it's going to be some tough games.
Yeah, very tough games. You got Baltimore for 4. They're always tough in Camden Yards against the Blue Jays. And then Yankees. Blue Jays haven't played very well at Yankee Stadium for the last couple of years. And then the Reds. Long road trips coming up for the Jays.
Suzuki gets hit by the pitch as Delamar had him in a hole 1 and 2. So he'll take first base with 2 outs.
Looked like the splitter again, and he just had been able to command it like he did last year. Hit him right in the back with that splitter. Still firm, hard splitter.
Number 9 hitter is the shortstop Eduardo Escobar. He'll step in with a man at first and 2 outs. Escobar has a double and he has struck out twice. Goes after the first pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Steve Delabar working in the top of the 8th. You mentioned the Blue Jays not playing well in New York. Last year they were 0-10.
It's been a couple of years. New Yankee Stadium has not been kind.
It's a fly ball into center. Pilar coming in a few steps, and the inning is over. Twins leave a base runner. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th. The Blue Jays trail by 4. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. The pitcher for Minnesota will be Jarrett Burton, the right-hander, making his 27th appearance. He's in to face Bautista, Encarnacion, and Adam Lind.
Power pitcher, Jarrett Burton. They use him a lot. This is his 27th game of the season. Hard fastball, reaches 95. Slider, that's really hard. That's how he has racked up a lot of those strikeouts. He's averaging about 6.5 per 9 innings. Burton, tall right-hander. Good type of closer stuff.
Brian Dunsing came in after the leadoff single to Deanna Navarro, and Dunsing was able to get out of the situation. He stranded a pair. Blue Jays have been shut out for the first 7 innings on 7 hits. Chris Parley into the game in right field, taking over for Osvaldo Arcia.
His legs are probably hurting. He got hit by a pitch on the back leg, and it looked like he just fouled a ball off his front leg. So his night looks like it's over.
Bautista goes after the first pitch and swings right through it. That was a little squibber, and Brian Dozier was on the shortstop side of second base. He comes across the bag and throws out Bautista.
Well, that time the shift paid off for the Minnesota Twins. They had him positioned perfectly. Nobody on. It looks like they're going to shift, but 3 guys on the left side of the infield. It works out nicely as Dozier gets over there and records the first out.
Got a couple of baseballs being tossed around here. Burton wanted a new baseball, and he's got the one he wants now. First baseman Edwin Encarnacion has gone over 3. Jared Burton signed originally with the Oakland A's. He was an 8th-round pick of Oakland in 2002. High pop-up left side of the infield. Nunez, the third baseman, drifts into foul ground and then back into fair territory. 2 down. Take a look at the ball exchange as Jared Burton wanted a new baseball. And watch, they'll throw a baseball in. And there's the catcher throwing it out. And everybody said, where's the ball going?
Don't throw it to the umpire. He's out of the play.
Edwin said, I don't want to catch it. Then the ball was coming back to Burton. He took his eye off it. They had baseballs going everywhere. 2 down. Lynn has a single in 3 at-bats tonight. Blue Jays just haven't been able to put anything together.
No, consistently. Their best shot was probably the second inning. And that great play by Correa turned this game around.
They really had Correa on the ropes. Laurie singled, Navarro singled to start the inning. Francisco hit it hard and lined out to the second baseman. Then Ghost walked to load the bases. At the time, it was a 2-0 lead, and Reyes hit what looked like a base hit going back over the mound, and Kevin Correa made a nice play behind the back stab and was able to get Laurie at home for the force out. Yeah. Two and two to Lynn. Driven into center field. Santana moves quickly over into the alley, makes the catch. Quick inning for Jared Burton. We'll go to the ninth. 4-0 Minnesota. Good start to his season.
Yeah, you can see 28 games that he has been in. Right-handers hitting .208, and he's averaging 13 strikeouts per 9 innings. And one of the reasons he can average 13 per 9 is his curveball. And this is something that you and I had a lot of fun doing the first month of the season, going around to the players and asking them about the grips that they have. This is a spiked curveball that Brett Cecil has, and he uses it, the middle finger, to put pressure on it and really spin the ball off that middle finger. That's where he gets the torque on that ball, and that's where he gets the big break on it.
He'll use the index finger to push that second seam and get him a bigger break when he wants to change the look a bit. Pretty interesting, and they did a nice job with those pictures and diagrams. Brett Cecil ahead of Danny Santana. Santana is a switch hitter. And he gets another base hit. 2-hit night for the leadoff man. Rogers customers can watch the Blue Jays on Sportsnet live on your smartphone. Visit RogersAnyPlaceTV.com/sports to get started. Danny Santana is a threat to run at first base. That Cecil will have to keep his eye on him. Brian Dozier, another home run in the first inning. He did the same last night. Homered in the first inning. Ground ball. Reyes hits short. Tollison back to first. Scooped and bobbled by Encarnacion. He couldn't dig it out of the dirt. So Dozier will be safe at first. They get the lead runner Santana at second.
Had a shot at him. Reyes gives him a good feed, and here comes the throw from Tollison. If it's in the air, he's going to be out over at first base, but it short hops Encarnacion. He just can't get the glove down there to pick it.
Looks like if he digs it out of the dirt, they would have been able to complete the double play. But Dozier's at first with one out. Joe Mauer has grounded out 3 times tonight. He's also walked. Numbers are down for Joe Mauer, just 2 home runs and 15 driven in so far. The thought was that if you take him out from behind the plate, his batting numbers would improve just because of the more relaxed defensive position at first, and he doesn't have to take that beating behind the plate.
I think his numbers will take off eventually. They had some brutal weather up north in Minnesota, and they play outdoors, so first month and a half not real conducive to getting a lot of base hits. But he'll be there by the end of the year.
Terrific hitter.
Yes.
He is hitting .320 for his career. Came into the major leagues for the first time in 2004. He got into 35 games and 107 at bats that first year. He hit .300.
What's new? He stays inside the ball so well. Left-hander, right-hander, fastball, breaking ball, it doesn't matter.
There goes the runner, Dozier, and Mauer is called out on strike 3. Dozier steals second base. Navarro was concerned about getting the strike call, then he held the glove. So Dozier picks up his 14th stolen base of the season.
Goes on first move, and Cecil's not even giving him a look. He's concentrating on that batter, and he punches out Joe Mauer.
2 down now for Josh Willingham. Willingham has gone 1 for 3 with a walk. He singled in the first. He went around.
Here's that spike curve that we were just talking about. The grip. Tough on right-handers.
Tight spin. You don't really pick up the rotation of the breaking ball because of that spiked grip. He really can't spin that curveball. And it's tough to identify the fact that it is breaking ball.
Here comes another one.
Same result. Glenn Perkins, the closer for Minnesota, loosening up. It's not a safe situation. The Twins have a 4-0 lead. One and two to Josh Willingham. Pretty good fastball, but it missed upstairs. That's a tough pitch to lay off of after you've seen all those nasty hooks.
And that one caught Willingham by surprise. It was 96 miles an hour. And if he could have got it down just a little bit more, he would have had another strikeout.
Cecil pitched the 9th inning on Sunday against the Cardinals. Gave up a 1-out single, but then got a double play to end the top of the ninth. Full count. Kendrys Morales, the DH, is on deck. He is a switch hitter. Willingham works Cecil for a walk. It comes with 2 outs. Second time that Willingham has walked tonight. He drew a walk against Chad Jenkins in the 7th.
Battle back there. He was ahead 1-2 and then missed with 3 fastballs.
Kendrys Morales, he is 2 for 4. He had a double in the 5th. Morales, we mentioned, he just signed with the Twins, and this is his first series of the season. Dan Gladden, the radio announcer for the Twins, asked Morales, "Let me see your hands, see how calloused up they are." Morales said, "I'm fine. You want to pitch to me?"
Well, we watched him take BP the other day. Woo.
Bouncing ball. They'll go to first, and the inning is over. That'll end it. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. The Blue Jays trying to avoid being shut out again. Glenn Perkins will enter the ball game. And Weston, how about on Pacific more baseball? The Yankees will be in Seattle, and if you want to see a pitching matchup, you got to tune into this. Masahiro Tanaka will go up against Hisashi Iwakuma. The 2 Japanese pitchers hooked up, and you don't think that's a big game in Tokyo tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning. That should be a lot of fun. Glenn Perkins, for the 28th time, will come in. He is the closer for the Minnesota Twins. Again, this is not a save situation. Perkins 16 for 18 in saves. Look at the strikeouts and the walks. 37 strikeouts, just 5 base on balls. He's got command of 3 pitches, the fastball, the curveball, and the changeup. Just goes out there and just attacks that strike zone.
He is third in the American League with those 16 saves, and he is behind Greg Holland and Fernando Rodney. Holland with the Royals, Rodney, of course, with the Mariners. They have 18 saves. This is not a save situation, of course, but he's into the game as Ron Gardner doesn't want the Blue Jays to be able to mount any kind of comeback here in the night. Kevin Correa, the starter, is the pitcher of record. He went 6 innings plus a batter. He shut out the Blue Jays on 6 hits. Did a terrific job as he got out of jams in the first and second, and then sailed right through the Blue Jays lineup into the 7th inning. This is popped up, should reach the seats, and it will. It's out of play.
Well, if you're the Blue Jays right now, all you want to do is just try and get some base runners on. You're not trying to hit a double. You're not trying to knock the ball out of the ballpark. You're trying to work the count. You're going to make Perkins throw strikes and just try and get a couple of base runners.
Laurie with another good stroke with 2 strikes. Boy, he cuts down his swing. He's so short and quick to the baseball.
Does such a good job with 2 strikes. They've tried fastballs against him, and he's hit those. They've tried breaking balls. He has hit those.
Lays off that ball in the dirt. Jared Burton worked a perfect 8th inning. Retired Bautista, Encarnacion, and Lind in order. Laurie pops this one up. Mauer, the first baseman, into the foul territory, makes the catch. 1 out. Now for a preview of what's coming up next on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osback. Thank you, Ken. That'll be all coming up right after this ball game on Connected. Laurie pops out to the first baseman. Now the catcher, Deanna Navarro. He's had a 2-hit night. He's the only Blue Jay hitter to have more than 1 hit. He's gone 2 for 3. These 2 teams will wrap up their season series tomorrow. Phil Hughes will go to the mound for the Twins. He'll be opposed by young Marcus Stroman. Hughes is 6-2. He's been pitching very well with the Minnesota Twins.
Blue Jays very familiar with Phil Hughes from his time here in the American League East.
It'll be the 29th time the Blue Jays have faced Phil Hughes. It'll be his 22nd career start against Toronto. Hughes signed a free agent contract for 3 years. Nunez knocks it down. He's got time, recovers, and throws out Navarro. 2 down.
I've always thought that Nunez has some gifts on the baseball field. Quick hands, quick feet, a very strong arm. And every one of those were on display right here. Takes his time, picks the ball up, and then throws a bullet across the infield to get Navarro. Watch how quickly he stays down right with that ball. Knock it down, finish it off.
Steve Tallison struck out as a pinch hitter in the 7th. He was batting for Juan Francisco. Blue Jays are down to their final strike. Blue Jays were shut out twice in the Cardinals series, both 5-0 scores Saturday and the Sunday. They've been shut out 3 times this season, and the Minnesota Twins were involved in a previous shutout way back in April.
7-0. Back in the cold in Minnesota.
Kyle Gibson held them to just 4 hits over 8 innings, and Anthony Swarzak completed the shutout. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Perkins does a good job with that fastball. He's got good command with it.
And that'll do it. Tollefson strikes out. That ends the ball game. Perkins has a perfect 1-2-3 inning in the ninth. Minnesota wins game 2 of this 3-game set. We'll have the rubber match tomorrow. Stay tuned. Coming up on East Ontario and West, it's Connected with Ken Reed and Namaka Osmak on Pacific. Great pitching matchup. Tanaka against Iwakuma. See you tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching.